Call this governing board meeting to order on Tuesday, October 8, 2024 at 5 p.m. in the Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District number 35 governing boardroom. District Office 570, Lito Galindo, Rio Rico, Arizona. May all rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call, Ms. Lourdes Vasquez.
Present.
Ms. Susan Fobian.
Present.
Mr. Joel Kramer. Here. Mr. Rene Ramirez.
Here.
Mr. Brad Beach present. We do have a quorum. Subject B, adoption of the agenda. Okay, motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Subject C, call to the public.
No call to the public.
No call to the public. Moving on to 2, executive session. Subject A, county treasurer matters. Executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3 and 4. Notice is hereby given to the general public that the governing board of Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District number 35 may vote to hold an executive session for discussion or consultation for legal advice with its attorneys and for discussion or consultation with its attorneys to consider its position and instruct its attorneys regarding county treasurer's litigation and related matters. The governing board's attorneys may participate in person, virtually, or by telephone. Motion to convene to executive session and.
So moved.
And a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. And we are now relocating. Madam Motion to reconvene to regular session.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Number three, there is no action taken, so we will move on to number four, presentation. Superintendent's report.
Mr. Verdugo sent, an email to the board, of his report information prior to his departure,
Okay.
but nothing else to report.
Governing board member report. Let's go with Ms. Susan Fobian.
Thank you. Everything seems to be going well. We're pretty enthusiastic about the things that are happening. It's nice to see that the clubs are starting to form and we've got interest growing and, as far as I know, all is good. Thank you.
Ms. Vasquez.
Yeah, same thing. Thank you to the principals for everything that they're doing. We're on the last stretch of our first 9 weeks. You know, we have a spring break. The kids are doing really good with their, the sports and everything. We had an induction ceremony for the Hall of Fame, which was really cool. We saw a lot of people that hadn't seen in a long time. I mean, years and years and years. Mr. Fontes was there, Mrs. Fontes. It was amazing. They inducted, people. So everything went really, really well. So just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kramer.
Oh, thank you, principals, teachers, 9 weeks, yay,
Yeah.
all good, right? Fall
Yeah.
break. Certainly, I know that, I think I sent stuff to Dr. Lunderville and you as principals. I know some of you replied, thank you. Hopefully it works. Again, like I said, whatever little bit it can help to you. It was AI stuff, I believe, so certainly that's important and certainly good. Yeah, the girls volleyball team, wow, that's good. That's very good. That's good to see. Certainly the football team as well, doing well, better than last year. Well, they are doing well, which is good. Hopefully they had a bye week, so hopefully they do well this next week. Keep it going. Get into the top 16 anyway, so. And I know we've got the CTE grand opening coming up before our next board meeting, so we look forward to that. That's gonna be nice. That's always our big push. It's been our big push since 10 years ago, so it's always important that we continue supporting that, especially with that and the JTED and everything we've done as a board here. And we are recognized throughout this county, this southern Arizona, of how well we are doing. So that is hats off to each and every one of us that have been involved in that. Us more just verbally, but certainly all the legwork everywhere else. So, with that said, thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Kramer, Mr. Ramid.
Yeah, I just, to all the teachers have been working hard and administration, everybody. in the district, just take some good time off for your fall break, enjoy yourself, your families, because. The schedules can be pretty grueling, so. I'm always happy that we didn't have a fall break initially. Lots of people pushed for it and finally got done, so take advantage of it and rest all you can. Get ready for the next 9 weeks, but enjoy your time off. And I just wanted to say, because I'll keep saying this as long as I'm here, that it's really important for us to push the idea of tax credits, including all the people that are here. The tax deductible credits really help clubs out and all kinds of organizations within the school. So, choose your favorite cause and donate to it, because if you don't, then that money, then your Arizona tax money is going to go to Maricopa County. And we all know what's gonna happen there. It's gonna go into a black hole and you never see it again. Okay, so wanna keep it local, then make your donation. And those donations vary based upon whether you're single or you're married, so please look into that to make sure you donate as much as possible, because the public schools really appreciate it. All the clubs, like I said, all the other organizations, they really benefit from it tremendously. I was a chess coach and I can tell you, we used to buy all kinds of chess sets and clocks and things that we needed for our club, and it was great. Basketball that I coached too. So, thank you.
Yeah, big shout out to John Fanning and whoever was involved in the Hall of Fame ceremony. You guys did an outstanding job. Mr. Padilla for emceeing, did an amazing job that night. Some of the cool people, one was my son-in-law, Alec Gutares. So he'll remain my son-in-law since he's inducted. And Megan, your mother-in-law, Alejandra, was also inducted. So a lot of good inductees, representing, not only our high school, but our community. So shout out to all those who got inducted into the Hall of Fame. And like, Mr. Ramirez said, you know, fall break's coming up. First 9 weeks is pretty much in the bag. And enjoy the break, rest, relax, and recharge, coming back. And that's all I have. We're moving on to number 5, information discussion action number 2. Fiscal year 2023-2024 annual report. And this is Dr. Lunderville and Mrs. Brown.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. The annual financial report is a summary of our prior fiscal year financial activities. So, some of the highlights of this report are, your major funds or operating funds or minimum maintenance and operations, followed by our capital fund, and at those two. We always like to look at our expenditures associated with the constant site fund. Tonight gives us the opportunity to comply with our annual presentation on what we have done with the bond and the override. That is an annual requirement. And then I'll show some highlights of federal and state grants, although we have the grants office coming at the next board meeting to present more in detailed information on what we have accomplished and what's in how our programs are benefiting from federal and state grants. And then we'll, at the end, look at the food service. Thank you. In our major funds, the revenues in our operating fund came in at $29.1 million. And our capital fund came in at $2.3 million. Combined revenues represents a 19% increase from the prior year. Next slide. The expenditures came in at $25 million in the operating fund. And then I'm going to break it out by the different categories. So 46% of those 25 million was dedicated to general instruction. 15% went to the area of special education and CTE. 3% to co-curricular activities, athletics and band. 14% to administration, that is combined, central administration and school-based administration. Maintenance and security services came in at 15%, followed by transportation at 7%. And then at the end, we have food service and bookstore with 1%. Just a reminder that in the food service, we like to just make sure that that operation is self-sufficient so that we're not pulling from our operating fund to fund our school cafeterias. But we do have a required contribution amount, and that is the minimum that we always put into that operation. Next one. This is just another way of looking at our expenditures. I want to highlight real quick. In the past, I've said that our district has always been in salaries and benefits over 80%. Look at this pie chart. We're at 71% last year, right? But then the next section, the one in orange, purchase services, it's at 23%. Some of our payroll expenditures are now have shifted over the year from being processed through payroll and moved into purchase services. What do I mean by that? In our district, we outsourced, fiscal 24 was the last year that we did that. We outsourced substitutes. So when we don't hire or we don't find a teacher, then we go for a long-term sub. And that long-term sub came to us through an outside agency, through ESI. That was a company that we were working with. So that's where you can see that shift, that's why we're no longer at 80% or more in salaries and benefits. In reality, we are. It's just that the way we code a purchase order, it's different than how we code an individual when we hire them through payroll. And so, I expect that, to change in this fiscal year as we now have, substitutes back in-house in our district. So we'll be able to see that shift in this year. Next slide. All right, moving away from the operating fund and into our capital fund. The expenditures in this fund came in at $1.6 million. 39% dedicated to the area of infrastructure, 20% in transportation, 14% construction, 13% co-curricular, 7% administration, and 6% in maintenance. Next slide. Once again, if we look at the different categories, 30% was dedicated to curriculum materials. And then we had 21% went for furniture and equipment, 14% in vehicles, 14% construction, 14% software subscriptions. That's one that has been increasing over the years, by the way, and 7% technology. Next slide. Looking at the classroom site fund program, total expenditures in this fund came in at $3.3 million. The base pay came in at $8,831 for participants, and then the performance pay $3,154. The district initiatives total expenditures $231,548, and those are the different expenditure categories that we have in that area of the program. We hired 2 teachers to address class size with this fund. We also provide funding for a mentor program, advanced and intermediate tiered program and stipends, professional development opportunities, and then we have curriculum enhancement. All of those expenditures are obviously aligned to the plan that you approve annually for the classroom site fund. Down to the bond. The bond total expenditures came in at $3.6 million. The ending fund at June 30th at $1.3 million. And as you know, the final project is the aquatic center. Now, on the other hand, the 9% enrollment override is that program that allows us to exceed our budget limit in our operating fund by 9%. That translates to an additional $2 million that we can introduce into our operating fund. And we have been able to invest in kinder teachers, 4.5 of those, 3 elementary and middle school band teachers, 6 K-8 media center technicians, 1 media center specialist, 6 art teachers, 1 dance teacher, 1.4 CTE teachers, 1 alternative pathways teacher, 1 network administrator, 1 community outreach coordinator, 27 longevity stipends. Those are only for teachers. And then in the area of athletics, we've also spent money for stipend supplies, and maintenance and personnel for the aquatic center have been always saved as a set aside. And now we're actually using them this fiscal year. In the area of grants, federal grants, including the one-time COVID funds, we captured $4.6 million, and the expenditures came in at 4.1. It's important to highlight that the total revenue from the special one-time funding for COVID, there was $1.3 million. Total expenditures, 1.2. We have over a little bit $40,000 left in fiscal 25, and we are done. This is the last fiscal year for any expenditures associated with that one time. In the area of state grants, we capture a total revenue of $1.8 million and expenditures came in at 1.5. Again, you will be hearing in detail what those grants are, what they're doing for our schools, how we're using those dollars at the next board meeting. The School Facilities Board, always trying to capture funding from them. We work with the School Facilities Board in 2 areas. They have the Building Renewal Grant Program, which we're always going after and applying to enhance our facilities. And then they also have the new school construction program when a school district is eligible based on student growth. The Rio Rico High School expansion, the classrooms that you see in the front of the school, the new media center, the two-story building, and the CTE building by the field, that's all part of the new construction program from the school facilities board. The total award for that additional square footage was $10.8 million. In fiscal 24, we spent $4.2 million. The total additional new square footage that was introduced to Rio Rico High School as a result of this was 26,800 and gives us the ability to house 200 more students. On the other hand, in building renewal grants, last year we captured 350,398. We were able to introduce intercom systems for San Cayetano, Cuatimundi, and Mountain View. They worked on sidewalks at Cuatimundi, Mountain View, Calabasas, and Rio Rico High School. Some of that work still continues this fiscal year. And then we went into the design phase for Rio Rico High School boys showers, and in the design phase for the Calabasas weatherization and drainage project. This last project has been a tremendous headache. I've been after SFB for the last 2 years. We're expecting to be able to capture probably over $2 million to be able to fix Calabasas. So I have a meeting tomorrow with SFB because they were supposed to approve us this past month. And then we got an email saying, yeah, we didn't approve your project. We're gonna look at your project again in February. So I follow up with a request for a meeting. So I wanna know if we separate the projects and do one request for weatherization and one for drainage, if that makes it more palatable for their board to approve. I need to understand why they're not moving forward with their application. And because the need is there, I can prove to them. I mean, I already invited them to come down and we can go walk through on the facility because it's time to move forward. So just want you to know that we continue to work behind the scenes with SFB to get that project forward. In the area of food service, our food service operation runs 12 months. We capture a revenue of $2.1 million. The expenditure is 2.4. No, we did not go in the red. We had carryover from the prior year. And the fund balance at June 30th, $1.4 million. We served a total of 144,000 and change in breakfast, 434,000 lunches, and 36,755 snacks. Next slide. A new element in food service has been the Santa Cruzine food truck. And we use that truck to do monthly school visits. We partner with the Culinary Arts Program. Go out in the community. It's a very popular element for the Taste of Tubac. And it was in particular very important for the success of the summer program this past summer. We had 19 stops and we served more than 27,000 meals through the food truck. Are there any questions?
Voting.
No, thank you. It's very clear. Thank you.
Vasquez.
No, thank you very much for all the work that you do. Oh my God, it's very, very, I like that I can understand it and that everything is really, really well. And kudos to the cruising truck, also, because I did get to see it this summer. I didn't know what it was about, but it was, it was stopped. There was a lot of people, stopped there, and I thought, why are they here? And when I came back, I saw the truck and they were giving kids food and adults. And I thought that was so cool for our community, so that nobody goes hungry. So thank you for the breakdown. Everything was very, very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Kramer.
Thank you, Mr. Beach. Yes, our Chief Financial Officer. Well, thank you for the presentation, as always. It's always good to know. I'd certainly like to print out the per student spending by area through the Auditor General's report. I always like to see where we're at specifically. And I see that we've dropped, this is a scolding on us because we dropped our spending on our per student a little bit. So we probably want to be looking at that for next year. And what's increased in administrators, you'll be happy to know, you were increased, but that's because we did agree board that we gave raises to the administration. But the big thing is our plant operations went high. In fact, of all, because we're always really low or medium, our plant operations is high per our peers. So that's where we are. And as a board, we always want to look, say, why are we at so high in that area, that per spending per student? Our transportation is really low. Our district meals are very low as well. But the one category that we always try to look at is when we're high, what do we do to remedy that situation? And I know that we're going to be talking that on the next presentation. Certainly as a board, we certainly want to look at that and what we're doing in that area. So with that said, I was just piggybacking to what you said, because those are the things that I always like to get into to see exactly where we're at with our peers. Thank you, Mr. Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Mr. Ramirez.
Thank you, sir. Do you happen to know what the criteria is for longevity stipends?
For the longevity stipends, they are getting continuously, it's 5, 10, 15 years, and then the continuous, after 20 years, and then it continues through. And then on the odd years, and I don't have that, if I can send you the exact numbers, but then, depending on the odd years, like 7, 13, 18, then they get gift cards for those. And so those are the timeframes for longevity stipend.
I just want to make sure that people who are extremely dedicated to our district are not getting shortchanged, you know, when they move their way up to the top, because it kind of used to be the case before.
That is not the case.
Yeah.
I can reassure you on that. We keep detailed track of the years of service, including when they leave and then they return. So we do have a detailed spreadsheet that we keep track of for all of our employees.
Thank you so much. Another question, what happens to the 301 monies that the teachers don't receive? For instance, we have some people who choose not to receive them because they just think it's too much and there's too much on their plate. And, you know, they don't want to jump through all the hoops. Sometimes I don't blame them. But what happens to those people who decide to do that, and also those who just didn't meet the deadlines? You know that there's money there that is not spent on that. So what happens to this money?
So at the beginning of the year, the Human Resources Department tells me the number of account of eligible employees to receive classroom stipend. Then in the spring, I confirm with the HR the actual number of participants in the classroom site fund. And the number, it gets recalculated to redistribute those funds to those that are participating. I'm talking about the base, right? Now, in the other categories, any funds that are left, those are carried over into the new year and put back into the code.
What happens to them?
They go.
Because in other words, what I want to know is, does that spread out, and does that make the percentage higher for the following year?
It follows the same guidelines, Mr. Ramirez. So let's say that in the performance area of a program, there were 10 individuals that did not meet the performance, the goals. Then that carries over into the performance bucket the following year to be redistributed to those that participate in the program.
Oh, does that make the fund bigger?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, that's just what I want to know. I just want to make sure it doesn't just fade and then you start all over with the same amount for the following year.
No, any carryovers carries over into the same bucket.
What about the state grants discrepancy? There was like a 0.3 million. What happens to that money that is not used?
State grant discrepancy?
Yeah, I saw that you had. You go back to that slide, there was a discrepancy, the amount that was given versus the amount that was spent. Right there.
Oh, it carries over And so certain grants allow you to carry over the fund, and certain grants, if you don't use it, you lose it. So certain grants have a restriction, for instance, Title I has a restriction on you can only carry over 15%, a maximum of 15%. If the district exceeds that 15%, then if you have not requested a waiver from the state in the past 3 years, then you can solicit a waiver and it will allow you to carry over anything that goes above and beyond that percentage. And if not, then you lose the funding.
All right. Thank you for your presentation and thank you, Ms. Cabrera, for giving us that info. Appreciate it.
Yes, I want to echo what Lourdes said about the Santa Cruzine food truck. It did get out in all the neighborhoods. He said over 24,000 meals were delivered. And what I liked is, at least in my neighborhood, a lot of the kids knew the driver by name and vice versa, the driver knew our community. So it was good to see that truck. I remember when we were debating whether we should get it or not. Then we had the naming ceremony, and I think the name is perfect. And it's doing wonders for our community. So good to see that. Also, I always get confused on 4.5 kindergarten teacher, 1.4. What's the 0.5s and 0.4s?
Because we split fund, how we code.
Okay. All right. But other than that, all good questions. Thank you, Mrs. Brown, for outstanding presentation. Very informative.
Mr. Beach, may I have the floor one more time?
You may, Mr. Kramer.
Just want to clarify though, principals, just so you don't think we are still very low per state and per our peers. That's why we did give raises in administration, right? But we are still low as far as statewide and our peers, as far as administration spending per student. It is very low. And again, that's one of the areas. It's just, that's where we increased because we had to get caught up. That's what will show it if you look at this report. I wasn't throwing at you were getting that, but we had to get you up there, but we still need to get more positive directions, not only with them, but with our teachers as well. It's a good report. You should get in there and look at it because you can actually see it. So just want to clarify that. Thank you, Mr. Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Okay, moving along, subject B is Dexel facility and maintenance. This is gonna be a discussion information presentation. Mr.
I'm
Verdugo.
sorry, it actually was.
Oh,
You need to.
okay. All right, motion to approve the fiscal year 24 annual financial report as presented.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to subject B, Sodexo facility and maintenance. Mr. Verdugo, Dr. Lunderville, Beach, Mr. Peters, and Mr. Goldsmith.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. So just want to start because this all began with a conversation after Mr. Beach had visited some sites, and we had some concerns before that. But I wanted to just turn over to Mr. Beach to start out tonight before we get into the presentation from Sodexo, because I think that there were some slides and pictures that Mr. Beach had sent, and I think that's where we would want to start before we turn it over to Sodexo. So, Mr. Beach, if you want to share some of your pictures, your concerns about what you saw when you visited our school sites.
Okay, definitely. Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. If I could have the clicker. Thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna have two presentations. I'm gonna do, when I did my walkabout about 3 weeks ago, what I saw. And then we can open it up for questions, and Sodexo, you can give your presentation and we can open it up for more questions, okay? About 3 weeks ago, I was walking around all our campuses and I sort of saw a pattern of disrepair, okay? So I'm gonna go through what I saw and then, you guys can respond. This was on Calabasas. A lot of the water fountains, for some reason, don't work. If you look at this water fountain right here, it looks like there was a leak that wasn't taken care of properly. It looked a hard water deposit up on the right-hand side, sort of leaked onto the bottom one. There's a big rusted out spot. Front of it's all rusted out. Both these fountains did not work. And it was in the third, fourth grade pot area. And I was just on the one, you know, I think it should be at least some caution ribbon around that covered up, because if one of our third, fourth, fifth graders reach up and cut themselves on that rusty metal, we might be looking at a lawsuit or something like that, okay? Next slide. Same thing, you know, disrepair. I can't see the concrete down below, but the concrete down below actually had a big water stain that's, there was no water, but the stain was there. So there was a leak. It wasn't taken care of. It was leaking on the cement. The cement was cracking because if it left over the winter, water freezes, expanded, and it started cracking the cement underneath these fountains. So again, you know, just a little upkeep or lack of upkeep on our water fountains. I was seeing a little pattern there. This is another water fountain. I don't know, the fascia was gone. Again, it looks like a leak that wasn't taken care of in a timely manner. And as a result, you can see the hard water, the rusting out of the water fountains. So that was 1, 2, 3 water fountains so far. Down below, you can actually see the cracks where the water was dripping. You can see the stain of the water. So that leak was ongoing. And, you know, it just, if you don't take care of water, water's gonna rust metal. It's gonna destroy concrete. Water is our enemy. So, you know, just, I don't know how to repair these things, maybe a washer, tightening the nuts, I'm not sure, but it looked like this leak was ongoing. Right here was in the gym, another fountain that was not working. I don't know if we can get a close-up of the centerpiece of it. Yeah, I don't know if you could zoom into the centerpiece. No, I don't think you can on this. This one wasn't working, but it's leaking water like underneath, and in the centerpiece, there's black mold growing. So again, it's just basic upkeep, or if it's not working, still clean it. It's okay. We're gonna continue moving on. This water leak, I went riding my bike to the school about 3-4 weeks ago. I rode through it. It smelled like a swamp. There's algae growing on the cement. Again, water is the #1 enemy to destroy cement, roadways, etc. I went back the next week to walk around. This water leak was still going on. I talked to Mr. Chavez. I said, John, you know, you throwing a work order for this? And he looked at me like, yeah, I threw it in a long time ago. Come to find out, it's been there that way since the beginning of school. Okay, so a water leak that big is hundreds of gallons of water a day, if not more. And being left unattended for at least 7 weeks. I don't know, it might have been all summer, but it costs the district thousands of dollars in water costs. Okay, I walked over there and I picked up the little box and looked where the water was coming from, and it looked like the 3 sprinkler heads, the shut-off valves for them. Water was bubbling up, going across our roadway right there. And I've done plumbing before. I've done sprinkler systems, and if it's, I didn't dig down, but if it's plastic piping, it's such an easy fix. You cut, you know, you just paste them back together. The individual that went out there, I was told, you know, spent a couple hours and it was fixed, but this thing went on for 7 weeks that we know of, and maybe during the summer. So I don't know who is checking on this, but 30 years in education, if there's a water leak, it's really promptly taken care of that day or the day after, not months. This is at Guatamundi, and it's inside one of the pot areas. And just basic upkeep, you know, it's painting. I don't know, you know, the head custodian there, I don't know if he has authority when he sees something like this. Scraper, a metal brush, little paint will do wonders there. It also protects the brick underneath. Because again, it looks like a little water damage and that water ate away at the paint and now it's eating away at the center block underneath. Again, one of the outside structures, you can tell if you look up above, when it rains, it does come down the side of that fascia right there. But again, it's just the lack of upkeep. This is some basic stuff. If I was a head custodian at the school, you know, I've never known a custodian not to take pride in how their school looks. And if that custodian is not giving the authority to do the job or work orders, I'm not sure, but we'll probably get some answers right now. But again, it's just, it's been left unattended. You know, the public walks in, we're paying Sodexo $1.4 million and they see this and they start asking questions. And, you know, a little scraper, a little bit of paint will do wonders and protect that brick underneath. As I walked in the pod area in the back, you can see the blue, it's up, that's all faded. One of the overhangs beams has been almost, I believe it's rusted through. Off to the left, there's another rust spot. Because it wasn't just touch-up paint. That's all we needed. There was a little touch-up paint to prevent that from rusting. It's now rusted through and that whole beam is gonna have to be replaced at a cost to the district. So again, you know, I named this proactive instead of reactive. You know, a little bit of incentive on who's ever overseeing these schools to get some paint on these things. This is one of the classrooms. I know we do have leaks, but there should be no ceiling tiles, you know, left down. You know, I asked the teachers in this classroom, and it's been like this for some time. It takes 2-3 minutes to get some ceiling tiles put in. If we can, you know, work on that, that'd be appreciated. Our parking lots, yeah, I don't know if Sodexo's in charge of it, but they're super faded at the high school, and also this is at Cotamundi. And if we hit it now, power wash it, paint it, the lines are still there, we can trace it, but once these lines are gone, the job's gonna be become harder. And a lot more hours are gonna be spent on painting these parking lots. There's a lot of bathroom fixtures that are just taken off the wall and not replaced. You know, we do have metal tubes coming out of there, maybe some caution tape or something until we get a replacement, or leave the bad one up until we get a replacement to put in there. This is at the high school, right outside the office building. And I can't get a close up, but up top where the two metals meet, it looked like there was some rubber silicone caulking put on the outside. I don't know if you could lift up that metal to put it on the inside, might have a better seal, but this is definitely leaking. I don't know if it's rusted underneath, but that would come back to the paint, you know. Metal will rust if it's not covered. And this right here is starting to eat away at the fascia. It's starting to eat away underneath. The water leaks under that. So again, if we're proactive, if we're just getting this when we see it happening, you know, it might prevent a lot more maintenance down the road. This is at the high school, and it's sort of on all the pods. You know, it's just painting the metal around the structures, the roofs, the beams. You know, I remember when I taught at Rio Rico High School in the 300 pod, the custodians would, you know, paint the metal posts, you know, one pod at a time, maybe a couple hours a day, get the posts. Next day they painted the trim and the roof got last, but they went from the 300, 400 pods and they just jumped around. 4 weeks of painting, and you don't have to hit it up until 7-8 years down the line. But if it's left like this, it's gonna be like at Guatemala where it's rusted through and now we gotta replace the whole beam at a cost to the district. So it just, I'm seeing a pattern of disrepair around our district, and it should be stuff that should be taken care of as you see it. I know in your presentation, you said you took care of a lot of the tripping hazards. This is the one coming out into the student parking lot. It's been like this for years. I know I'd mentioned this about a year ago, but that right there is an inch, probably an inch above the ground. Every time I come out of a sporting event, there's 2 or 3 people that hit it. They sort of laugh it off. But it is a lawsuit waiting to happen. It's out of code, out of county code. And I also sit on the fire board, and I remember years back through COVID where the resort was getting sued because a lady tripped and broke her hip. And that lawsuit was over $100,000. This is way above code. You know, jackhammer, take some dirt out, pack it down, throw in some Quikrete. You know, it's a easy fix, but maybe it's not priority right now, but it should be because this is a danger to our community. Okay? That pattern is sort of throughout the schools. Some of the general upkeep. That San Cayetano, AC is not working. I know sometimes they're hard to get parts for. But the classroom that I visited, you know, the AC was broken for about 4 days. But there is no 9:30 in the afternoon. She's sweating in there, 27 kids, no windows. So you can imagine what she was going through for those 4 days. But when we see ACs go down, we should put out a call, hey, we need to get some fans in there. We need to get some oscillating fans, some industrial fans, just to keep the air moving and pull them off. So I thought that would have been a wise decision on either the principals or who's ever in charge of that. Bugs and light fixtures, mismatched ceiling tiles down in the weight room. Toilet's not working outside of the cafeteria, the men's restroom. There's a toilet that hasn't been working for ages. There's a ceiling fan that was put some of the drywall putty up there. It wasn't sanded down, wasn't repainted. It just looks like there was no pride taken in that work. And let me see. There's also coming down those stairs before that bathroom at the high school where the cafeteria is. There's probably a water fountain that was taken out, but we do have exposed pipe there. We either need to get a water fountain put back in. If that's not the case, cut the pipe, plug it up, and then put some cement over it so that pipe's not protruding out where people come down the stairs. So those were my observations, and I just see a pattern of disrepair that was sort of consistent throughout the schools. I know I don't want to place blame on anyone because I know everybody does. They work hard, our custodians work hard, they take pride in what they do, but something's missing. And I'm not sure if it's the work orders when they get forwarded to whoever, they're not getting acted upon promptly. I'm not sure what the protocol is for our custodians, if they have the authority when they see paint bubbling up, whether they have the authority to go ahead and put in the work order, scrape the paint, touch it up, problem solved. But it looks like some of these, we're just looking at it and it's starting to deteriorate not only the paint, but the bricks underneath. So those are some of the questions that I have. You know, we do need some type of improvement. And I know we give Sodexo, you know, brand new equipment. This is custodial staff. This is the number of custodians that we have on campus is at an all-time high compared to when I was here. But we do need to work on some improvements, okay? Whether it's through you, Mr. Scott, our leaders and our admin staff or our principals, and we need to come up with some solutions, okay? And you guys want to go ahead and give your presentations, then we'll open it up to the board.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I had questions on your presentation.
Okay, you want to save it to the end or you want to do it?
I want to, because it ties right into with you.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Ms. Fobian, do you have any questions? Of my
I think it makes more sense to hear their presentation.
Okay, so we'll wait with the questions there, but you can go
Yeah,
ahead.
whatever, she can wait, but
Yeah.
I'll go.
Go ahead,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Kramer.
Certainly that, thank you, Mr. Beach. That was very thorough. That was a very good job. I know that this has been a discussion for the last 4, 5, 6 years. I know there's some slides in there that this gentleman took a few years back. I took I see two that I took from a year ago, so it's certainly, I'm glad you did that. I'm very glad you talked to the principals, you know, that when we walked around, talked around. I just wanna, my question is, all these are that Mr. Beach took, they're in School Dude right now? Everything's in school. School Dude? Is that what we're using, right? The program, correct? Yes? So everything that he's talked about is in School Dude, correct? As principals, you put it in. Pretty much? Okay, because that's probably the other thing here that's going on is, everything's in School Dude, then it's obviously should be looked at. And certainly some of these things, like I said, have been going on. Obviously, we had talked about before, and I had said it before, the trash and everything that I even saw this past summer. I took a few pictures, I sent them to Dr. Lundeville when I was here. We had a couple events at the high school, it didn't look good, there were weeds, that was my other thing. I know that Brad, you did your good slides again, but it's always my thing is the weeds every year, and it was still this year. I took pictures at the beginning and I sent it to Dr. Lundeville because we had guests on our campuses from outside. I just want to tie on to that. Certainly with San Cayetano, I remember last year we were talking about some things over there. The last thing, you took a picture of it, but this is something that's been going on for 3 years ago and it's still there. And now it just bothers me is why we haven't spray paint or power washed those 6 feet things that Dr. Fauci put out there that weren't even supposed to be there in the first place. And it's still there. You see 6 feet everywhere around campus. They should have been power sprayed off last year or a year and a half ago. And whoever put them on there is like, come on, used good paint. It's probably the paint we should have used for everything that was used on the ceilings or whatever. So those are my things in there. And I'd said at the beginning, at the last presentation, we are high in our expenditures for the upkeep of the district. And you can go look in that. Again, that's why I brought it up. We are high in our spending for facilities. Thank you, Mr. Beach. I just wanted to tie into what you were saying, and good job again, and good job, principals.
Thank you. Mr. Ramirez, do you have any?
Yeah, you did an excellent job, Mr. Beach. I was really impressed. Also, I want to echo what you said about how they used to paint the pools at Rio Rico, because I remember that. They used to tell us to put the signs around them so that we wouldn't touch them and stuff like that. But I remember how they were always maintained. And so we never had that rust like you were mentioning with all the poles and everything else around there. I also, Mr. Grant pointed out, I mentioned a few things earlier when I was a board member, during Mr. Estrada's time as a principal, because I went over there one time and there was trash blowing all over the school. And I was told, well, it's just that the trash cans aren't big enough and the kids pile up all the trash top at the end of the lunches. And the trash is just blowing all over the school. It looked terrible. So, yeah, and I asked, what are we gonna do about it? I was promised that we were gonna get bigger trash cans. I don't know if that's the case or not. Have to go back and see. But yeah, it's just some of those pictures, it's just disgusting. I realize you don't want to blame anybody, but something, like you said, has to be done about this. Can't just keep going on like that. And you're right, it's costing the district a lot of money because they're not staying on top of it. Thank you.
No, same thing, when we went to the inductee ceremony, I got there when Mr. Verdugo got there, and we also saw, I mean, there was trash everywhere. That's the first thing that people see, you know, when you walk into the school. Here we are at Rio Rico High School, you know, all of these facilities, everything, all this money that's been going into improving our school. And he was taking pictures, okay, and stuff, and he, I mean, gum, I mean, people, you know, kids doing the gum with, there was like a tic-tac-toe or something, and he took pictures of it, and me and him were picking up trash, you know, because people were coming in, and that was what they were looking at, you know, and stuff, and he called and he said, told somebody, you know, he sent the message, okay? I went back, you know, a few days later, and the gum was still there, and I know that he put in a work order, because he wanted it to be removed, you know, like right where you're walking down the stairs, there's where the offices are, okay, right in the back, there's like a bench. In the back of the bench, okay, there was just gum, but like kids were just playing with it, whatever. trash all over the place, so we kind of picked that up and I was helping him and stuff, and it's something that, I did it and I don't mind doing it, and I know Mr. Verdugo doesn't mind doing it because he's proud of the school, and it's anybody that goes, anybody that walks around the school and you see something on the floor, pick it up and throw it away. But again, it's like when he puts in a work order and it doesn't get done, something's wrong. That's what I say, because like you said, there's things that have been there for weeks and weeks and months and months, and all of that is, money that our district is losing, because of the, and plus it's making everything worse because of the wear and tear that the water does. Look at what the water does. Grand Canyon, really, it's, things just get destroyed. The more it happens, So I'm just concerned about that too, so. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead and get your presentation, then we'll open it up for discussion again. Oh, you need the clicker. There we go.
Scott, before you present, I would like to say, first of all, I appreciate you guys taking the time to put that stuff together.
Thank you,
Because
Mr.
again, if there's things out there that we're doing and we need to do better, I would be the first person to say, we need to put something in place. And so I do want to say, Scott, I know it's hard to stand up here and see pictures like that. And I will say, I don't think there's anything personal. And I understand where you've been, because I was a facility director for a while, and there's a lot of things that I didn't get done that wasn't because I wasn't working 40, 60 hours a week. It was things that we just missed or whatever. So I want to make sure, number one, I walk the schools today, and yes, there are some things that I've seen. I will say that one of the things that we want to put together, Melissa and I have talked about it. There are some projects here that we've identified years ago that were beyond what we can do with our limited maintenance staff and our very limited budget. So one of the things that we're talking about is meeting with Melissa, Mr. Verdugo, either monthly, depending on how they want to do it, where we have an opportunity to sit down and say, look, these are the issues that we've got. Some of these things are being funded, or we're seeking funds from and I always get the initials wrong, but it's the school funding board. I think that's what it's called. SFB. And some of that, it takes a while to get that funding. And so what we want to do is make sure that, and Scott and I walked around today, I said, look, Scott, there's things that we reported that are beyond what we can do, but we need to start trying to mitigate it. And so that's kind of the thing, is at what point do you sit there and go, look, this is going to be a long-term type process. Do we build a box around something and say, hey, this is going to be a while? So that is something that we talked about. Actually, we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks, trying to do that. So I kind of want to at least talk about the things you mentioned, and know that everything that you've seen out there are things that are not things we like to see out there. Our presentation is going to be about the things we did this summer. This is a great looking district. Okay, I am privileged in the fact is I've spent 34 years with Sodexo, and I've been in school districts from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast. I've been up from the Canadian border and all the way down to the southern border. And, this district got reason to be very proud. So even with some of these things, we want to move it to that next level and say, hey, these things like this, what are we doing to help the district solve a problem that's even bigger than maybe what we can? So Scott, please go with your presentation. And I also want to let everybody know that Zoila is our admin. So she's the one that handles School Dude. She's the one that works with our hiring and working with our employees and stuff. And we appreciate you being here tonight. And, this summer, there was a lot of things that went on. That pool down there is absolutely fantastic. But, the first day I was here, there was 100 dead frogs in the bottom of that thing. So now we got to figure out, okay, how do we exclude the frogs out of the pool and stuff? But those are things I think we solved together. So I hope in the spirit of progress, we will come back to the board and report what we've done to mitigate that, plus a plan to say, hey, if there are things above what we can do, what are we doing to kind of work with everybody in the district and including the board in that information so that you understand where these things are and maybe what we need to do to mitigate it. So, okay, Scott, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Goldsmith.
All right, some of the challenge on this thing. There we go. Some of the summer highlights that we did do. We upgraded the lights at the RHH cafeteria to LEDs to match the media center. It was dull in one area, so we, recommended that we put in all in LEDs. When we did that, it was about 15 lights. We actually worked on the floor to get it to match the other floor during the summer, so it looked like it was all completely brand new. I don't know if you've walked that area, but it's beautiful at this point. We also installed a new water pump to increase the pressure for the irrigation down at the sprinklers down at Calabasas. The city said that they had enough pressure when we separated it. They lowered it for some reason. We don't know why. So we actually added a pump to actually boost that, to get that grass back. We got it back to nice and green. We'll reseed it this year with a winter rye. You'll see the results of that one too. Some of the stuff we do like inside is the Mount View restroom repair. We do a lot of those. Kids do shove stuff everywhere. And it does mess up the pipes pretty bad. We actually had to cut into the floor to replace that. That's time consuming. That's not a day job. That's a week job. Some of those things, a lot of stuff we do like that. We upgraded or repaired every security light. We were working on all the security lights around the whole buildings. Changed them all to LEDs. And get away from the standard CFLs. Replace fall protection at the Calabasas upper playground, which is that like a tire mulch. We put in, I think, about 4 bags of that stuff. Those are pretty good sized jobs. They take a tractor and a lot of guys to get that stuff to move. Painted all the fire lanes like we usually do. Summer cleaning, we refreshed the floors, cleaned carpets, etc. The aquatic center, break into the pool and all the pool treatments. We did get 4 certified pool techs to do down there. They're actually Pima County certified. And the training alone was a beast on that. That thing's 350,000 gallons and a splash pad. It is literally taking me 3 hours a day just to try to get that thing to balance. We are having issues with it. The contractor left us. He stood next to me one day and said, "Pool is yours, have a great day." He was supposed to sweep it with his crew. He did not sweep it with his crew. And I'll show you pictures where my guys were actually in the pool sweeping it. And we did. We swept that every day. 2 guys in the pool sweeping it down to make sure we got that dust off there. And balancing it. He didn't balance it. Just let us balance it. So it has been a challenge, that pool. Still is a challenge. It is a monster. Let's see, replaced the main breaker at the high school. That was another challenge we had in the summer. We lost the whole west side for about a month. And that was a fun project. We couldn't clean that half the side. We couldn't do anything. We were literally shut down that whole side. And we did replace a lot of concrete trip hazards. We haven't got them all. We still got Mountain View to do. So we still have trip hazards. They come up every day. We have another one at the high school we found the other day we painted. That's a constant battle. So we're always fighting with those. Next slide. Some of our challenges we've had is the remaining construction projects, the CTE building, Aquatic Center is still going on, and the boys shower that just started. With the grounds, it's pretty hot this year, extreme heat, and a monsoon. Those monsoons create weeds faster than anything I've ever seen. We had an explanation of the guys that work on the frontage road. They start at the firehouse, they go about 3 streets down, start back over at the firehouse. We do the same thing. We have a lot of weeds here. We also have a cross-country meet we do every year that we literally clean all that whole entire cross-country track. Make sure it's ready for them. I even got Shatter sent me an email thanking him because it's a lot of work. It's about a week and a half of work. Sprinkler repairs, the new system we did put in, we found out every time a lightning strikes, it wipes out a decoder that we have on these little things, which kind of talks back and forth to the new system, something we didn't have before or learning about. We do have a couple down right now. The baseball field, as you can see, there's a brown spot in it. It is down. We got the decoders. They're about $400 a piece, we found out. So that is a challenge for us because it's something new. So one decoder literally takes out CTMS, the track, the whole entire high school. We have staff challenges. We always do, post-COVID turnover. Or replace the maintenance tech for the summer. My guy that I've had for a few years quit in the middle of summer. 2 new lead custodians. We did have some custodians that weren't performing at where they should have been. So we had to replace them. And grounds. I have almost a whole new staff except for 2. And the training, it's a tough training for them. They come from, you know, maybe doing little bitty yards and stuff to, you have some pictures coming up. You'll see areas that are like fun of transportation. We do have a lot of, it's getting old here. It's the end of life cycles we're having, exterior painting, weatherization like at Calabasas. The main water breaks, we had 2 at Calabasas, 1 at CTMS and 1 in San Cayetano, and we have 1 at Calabasas again, that we're getting a PO for. So we do get a lot of, and that's some of the things I run into is that water line I missed. I called the plumber and said, "You fixed it?" He said, "Yes, I did." And I moved on because I'm down there dealing with this pool supplies and trying to get it up and running and make sure it's not green because my boss told me if it goes green and closes, you're fired. So
I think we're fired.
yeah, so I was down there working on that and I did miss that. It was a total space job for mine because I thought he did it. I should have checked up on it. That was my bad. So it's something I did screw up on. I'll give you that. Here's some of the pictures. There's that main breaker. And when I talk about main breaker, everybody kind of thinks, oh, you just replace a breaker. No, this breaker was, well, as big as this thing here. It's probably 400 pounds. It took all 3 of us to get it in there. We did have a company, but we're there helping. There's the new pump and we did the concrete on that pump, the wiring on that pump. We did everything on that pump. There's the mountain view. If you can see down at that left-hand corner there, that's what we're talking about. It messes up the drains so bad, we're digging into them. So it's not just quick maintenance, you know, because we are kind of a light maintenance. We are doing these things where we're like, hey, let's just fix them because it costs you a lot more money to have a plumber in there. Some of the drainage problems that Azilla talked about is right there in front of you in that middle slide. This is what happens. It backs up. I had a full crew down there all summer, literally cleaning up every room because they backed up into the room and mud was everywhere. We had to get that out of there first. Once we got it all cleaned up, it's, you know, mold, you have to go through this whole thing. Those are week projects, not just today projects. The one on the right-hand side there is another leak we had about 2 weeks. Melissa? About 2 weeks before school opened was a main water leak at CTMS. And getting those done quick is not easy. So we're, you know, we actually still have the hole there. We got to put the patch in, but I have a company coming out when they do the more patching here. He's going to do it for us. But those are the type of things we run into is, you know, it's a lot of time involved, not just a day project. Here's some of our challenges. I go to Calabasas and they had waxed the floor. I walk in and it looked like that. I'm like, you're kidding. So, and I pull back the blinds, we can see the blinds on the right-hand side. We pull those back and they're squiggly where they just kept the blinds closed and they waxed it. So we had to go back and redo that whole entire floor. That was about a week before school started. Billy came out and saw that. That was an interesting one. That we got it back to what it looks like today. That's an old floor. That floor is original. I think we do a pretty good job on these floors. We do have challenges though. Like I said, the staff sometimes is pushed because they know kids are coming back whenever and they're like, well, I'm just gonna get this done. So we stopped them and made them actually repair all this. Here's some of our landscaping projects. If you look on the left-hand side, there is a backflow underneath that. And that's in front of CTMS. It grows that fast. We have it's called a flail mower, sits on the back of a tractor, and it cuts it all down. We cut it all down, it grew back to that in probably a week and a half, if that. It took my guy about almost 2 weeks to get it to look like it does today. You can see transportation, he also did transportation. These are big areas. These are not, you know, a couple weeds here, 3 weeds here. So when they do get focused on that, I do believe they miss. I believe they get to their other jobs and they're so focused on trying to get that done that they're missing the weed maybe at the high school. I've talked to them. I said, you guys gotta be more detailed. You guys can't just, you do a great job here, but you leave one weed at the high school and that's what they saw. And that's what I kind of explained to them is, look how great a job. I mean, it looks like a nuclear bomb hit that. He wipes it out. I mean, he does a great job, but he missed the weed. This is some of the schools down below. This is the cafeteria in the middle, and on the right and left are the lower half. So we do a pretty good job of these floors. We make them, I mean, they don't look like that all the time now because there's construction down there, obviously. But the cafeteria, it looked brand new when we went. I mean, with the new lighting, that's all the new LEDs that you can see glaring off that floor. I think they did a pretty good job. Here's some of the improvements we do. I do have the guy up at the high school now. He's, as you see him trimming the bushes. We walked it yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. And bushes are trimmed. He's doing a good job. We added a new tractor.
We missed some stuff.
He did. You know, we didn't miss. I mean, he missed. Here's our new tractor we just purchased for you. It has a seeder on the back. It also came with the flare mower, and we added the forklift attachment. We move a lot of chemicals and stuff now with the pool, so we needed something where we can move some of this stuff. That has been a lifesaver. Here's a Mountain View, some of the stuff we do at Mountain View. There's that mulch that we actually put in, the rubber tire. That stuff goes out probably, I'll probably be doing that here when you guys are gone for, you guys call that fall break? We don't know what that is, but we don't see fall break. So we'll probably be doing this. Here's some of the landscaping schedules. We did have them just kind of just printed out. We made them colorized now so they can actually see where they should be each day. And that's what they follow. So now a principal can come to me and say, hey, they didn't do the red area. And I can go check and say, you're right, he didn't do the red area. This will help us a lot. Here's some of the work order stuff we do. We get about 400 a month. And I have one maintenance guy and I have one AC guy. And my AC guy gets about 300 PMs a month. He's out every day. We haven't had an AC problem here in probably almost 2 years, I would say. The AC problem you had at 105, I think that's room up there.
Got that on.
It is, it's a back order. What happened is we ordered the part. We couldn't get it anywhere. We called every store. It's a back order part. We actually put in fans for her, which are these portables that we did. They don't keep up, especially during the summertime. I feel bad for them, but there's nothing, I can't make the part faster. All I can do is just wait it out and hope it comes in. That happens a lot post-COVID. We do get these back orders a lot. We do about 86% on time work orders. Because I do watch them pretty closely. My guys know they gotta do their work orders.
And one thing I would add is that kind of completed on time. Our goal is if a routine work order comes in, that we get to it within a couple of days to check it out. And then we try to get to completion within 5 to 7 days. That's kind of I don't know if it's really an industry standard, but that's a goal that we kind of shoot for. So that when you see that 80% percentile, that's kind of what that's meaning is we're inside that window where we want to be.
And on my work orders, my guys have to put on what they're doing. So if they put it on hold or if they do something, there has to be a comment in there that says why it's on hold, parts ordered, whatever. And that kind of holds everybody responsible. So you can call up and say, hey, that AC is broken in 105. What's going on? I can look on that work order and say, oh, parts back ordered. They ordered it on this date. This is where it's at. So we do have a lot of information we put on those work orders. And I do that for the staff to say, hey, if you go out there and they say you didn't do it, you better have proof. It better be on the work order. So all our work orders are like that. I have a new guy that's doing maintenance. He's learning it the hard way. He's going out there and he doesn't do that sometimes. And I'm retraining him and saying, hey, put it on there. It only helps you. It's going to protect you in the long run. Here's some of the aquatic stuff we had to go through. I had to put in all that containment stuff for the chemicals. Those are 53-gallon drums of chlorine and they're 15-gallon drums of acid. The middle part are little robots that sweep it. We bought 2 for the district. We still have to sweep it. We still have to get it all to the middle because those things don't get everything. And they only go so far because the pool's too big and there's nothing made today that goes that big. So, but those do help. We had to put in eye washes. Obviously, we have chemicals in the area. But it has been a very tedious task. Here's some of the stuff. You can see them shooting in the concrete for the pools and all that. I was overwatching all that, making sure everything was put in, done right, and up to code. There's the pool room all done. That pool room was redone 3 times because a lot of this stuff didn't fit in there and we had to readjust. Well, you knew that because we had it on back order. There's my 2 guys actually in the pool sweeping the pool. We did that for about a week and a half. And that's all the chemicals. I had to buy 16 gallons of chlorine at 53 because they don't sell it one at a time. So we have to store that. We have an area where we store it. We put eye washes up the whole bit. Here's the CTE building. Some of the stuff that happened with the CTE building, as you can see that walkway right there that goes to the football and the walk up that goes up to the building itself. That was actually me coming up and saying, hey, why are we not having an ADA walkway that goes from the bleachers to the bathrooms? So we did have to add that. So, and all that riprap along there. So, because what's happening is with the riprap, all that dirt ends up on the field. So this was one of my things I came up with, and this is what I do daily, and I have been doing it for about 4 years now of these construction projects, is there is things that these contractors miss and or architects miss that I go out and see and say, hey, if we did this, now we have a walkway with the railing, the whole 9 yards, we can have an ADA access and we can have the stairs to go up to the restrooms. Before, they were going to go up the side of the side of the blocks there, which was going to be DG. Some of the safety stuff we do, I do monthly safety training. We do weekly safety and near miss observations. I walk around and, see if there is going to be a safety problem. I find a lot on the pools because the guys don't like to wear gloves when they change chemicals, but working on that. 100% of, we do a safety audit every year. I got 100% on my audit. You can see my stuff. It's right in line and it's all OSHA approved. Matter of fact, me and Zoiler are now changing it again to make it even better, even easier. And I did have one lost time injury this year. The lady was picking up a table and dropped it on her foot. That's just retraining, someone not paying attention. Our next steps is continued alignment and expectation with principals and administrators. So I'm going to go out there and have meetings with the principals. Monsoons, we did speak to the weed guy that sprays our weeds. He didn't do a good job. So I'm out now. He's going to come down on October 16th or 17th. And we're going to talk to him about how he's going to do pre-emergent our way instead of his way. He came out one time and kind of sprayed, kind of went away. It just didn't take. I mean, it just didn't happen. He came up with, because of the rains, we had a lot of rains, but it shouldn't have been that way. So that is something we are doing. Focusing on the deferred maintenance projects and increasing the role in project identification and development, RFP and RPQ documents, and project management. A lot of stuff I do to this day, I'm still project managing the boys thing, making sure we're getting the right pipes in, making sure they're doing it the correct way. Continued staff developments, continue onboarding as needed, and focus on core service functions and report deficiencies. I think that's pretty much it. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, I get it. I mean, we've made this whole school bigger. The footprint is much bigger. And then there's still all the old stuff. But if you could address the painting issue.
Yeah, and me and Melissa have. We're looking at those issues of painting.
Because it's so visible.
Right. And we did do the patching at the high school. My guys are not good at that. It just kind of fell off and we painted over it. We did a Rylom test. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a tube, you put water in it, you stick it on the wall. It goes in too fast, you need to repaint it. We're starting to do those things so you can see, look, it does need to be repainted. And yes, it is on my radar.
Ms. Vasquez?
Well, the same thing that I said before, like the trash, the fact that you can tell when you walk around some of the schools that it hasn't been, that they haven't swept, that they haven't thrown the trash out, that they haven't tried to take off the gums, take off the, little things like that, like Mr. Beach was saying, like, look at the water fountains. I mean, that doesn't,
We
if
do have 25 water fountains everywhere. 22. We have 22 fountains that we are replacing. 5 came in yesterday at the warehouse, and we'll start doing them at CTMS here pretty soon, because they don't have any. And so that is something that was on our radar, and we have been working. So we do have 20, like I said, 23 or 24 coming.
because it's like, like we don't go to the schools like on a daily basis, but it's, but when you do go in and you see the same thing that was there 2-3 weeks ago, then you're like, well, it's not getting done. You know what I'm saying? So that is one of the concerns that we have, because I mean, the principals and everybody, they have so much more to do that, you can't expect them to be outside, cleaning up and doing what we're paying, the company to do,
Like we did, I went up to the high school and we walked around with Angel, and I was like, what's happening? So there's gotta be a disconnect, because so what we're finding out is, and this happens a lot, like the gym down below. We clean it at, say, 8 o'clock. So, and gets cleaned to 1 today. So from 8 till the next morning, we don't clean it. So what's happening is all the basketball, whatever, come in there and they do their thing. Well, if someone walks at 5 o'clock in the morning, or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, excuse me, and they see trash, we don't clean it till the next morning. So that is one of the things we're talking about now, how to fix that. It happens in the quad area also a lot. They'll have like a after school thing. My guy leaves at 2:30. They come in at 3-4 o'clock. Stacks of pizza boxes. You're going, hey, why are the pizza boxes there? The gum, my guy, I asked him, I said, how did you miss the gum? He goes, I got it on the other side. Okay, well, I sent you a picture. We did have a talk about it. He was verbally talked to about that, his problem there. He's new. He's 2 months old. So he's helped me is his whole thing. So we're working with him now. So that is one of my challenges is staff, when you have to train a lead like that, they're so overwhelmed by the high school, because there's a lot at the high school. There is a lot that goes on at that high school.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes, thank you, Mr. B. Yeah, certainly good thorough presentation. Thank you for gentlemen for giving that presentation. I know you guys are a profit organization. You have to make a profit as well. You're not just gonna give away your services because that's what you're in the business for. Otherwise, you wouldn't pay for employees. But then again, we are in the business of, hey, we hired you guys. This is what we expect. This isn't the first time that we brought this up. It's been going on for a few years. We've talked about that. I've gotten labeled as the SOB, that I was the one that it was Kramer, the one that was bringing all this up. So thank you, Brad, for taking that role this time, and I'm proud of that. So I'm not always the one being blamed.
SO Beach.
Yes. Making my grandpa. Or what Pedro says, who's your daddy? Anyway, point being all this, you guys are doing, I mean, yes, I understand all that. That's why I asked about the school dude. And you said it in the beginning where, well, sometimes we can't do it. Well, how are the ones flagged then saying, okay, we can't do this. This is not in our scope of it. So that should be mentioned ASAP, shouldn't it? Shouldn't there be right now? We can't do that in school.
And we do that. We do address them. Go ahead.
So one of the things that I want to say that you see there, we're talking about that kind of alignment of expectations is one is this ground schedules and things we talked about with Melissa early on this year. Even though we've had the ground schedules for a long time, is presenting it in such a way makes it a little easier to understand. So that's why we kind of talked about our next steps is to make sure principals and administrators know when the grounds guy is supposed to be on their campus, what areas they're supposed to be on. So that if we're missing something, they can say, hey, weren't you guys supposed to be out here yesterday? So the thing to your question about the deferred maintenance is normally what we like to see is a work order in our system that never gets more than 30 days old. Because in 30 days, somebody needs to make a decision as to what to do with it. So typically what happens is if a work order, if we go out and look at something and say, hey, take the water fountains, for example. You go out there and say, hey, there's a water fountain. This is beyond what we're able to do. Then what happens is that goes to the deferred maintenance list. The one thing that's a great part about School Dude, and most facility software will do it now, is the originator will get a notice every time there's a step in that work order. So that's one of the reasons Scott alluded to. The fact is we really stress to our maintenance guys is, look, tell us you went out there and tell us you got a part on order, because when you put that note on that work order, the person that originated the request gets that notification that says, hey, parts have been ordered. They should get the same request when it's deferred, which deferred maintenance means that's not a maintenance issue. It's something that we're addressing with the district down the road. And this is where part of our conversation here about the increased role in project identification is so that we don't turn around and say, you know what, that's a deferred work order, not our problem anymore. No, we need to look at it and say, okay, when do we need to take these deferred work orders and go to the district and say, hey, we need to push this a little harder, because how long do you want this thing to sit here and look this way? Right. So,
And one of my things I'll say is, the system does work because like the drinking fountains is a perfect example. We went out their history and we bought drinking fountains. Calabasas weatherization is a classic example. We found some bad areas that were falling apart pretty much, and we went, what's going on? And we went in there and figured out, hey, this place needs to be painted. There's a list of stuff that we just got, Melissa just gave me the good list of stuff that we are working on. It is going through SFB or whatever is going on, who's ever funding it. And that's part of the time. SFB sometimes is election, as I said.
Well, no, I know.
and
I
I would think,
dealt with school facilities. I've done that.
and I would think part of the problem is that unfortunately, some of these projects, when we say, hey, it's gotten moved to deferred maintenance, we go focus on something else and say, you know what? But to be fair, as I was talking to Scott, we need to be more of an advocate for, look, this needs to get fixed. And I understand if you don't have the money, but let's figure out either how you mitigate it. And that's where I was telling Scott, the next coaching I need, Scott, is look, if that water fountain is indeed bad and it's not something that we can fix, then we need to do something to mitigate that, make it so it's not an eyesore. I will tell you, the thing I'm a little alarmed about, and a lot of this paint is stucco. And if you'll notice in just about all those pictures, once that stucco starts to effervesce, which you can see it starts to like an Alka-Seltzer, you don't want some custodian, and I don't mean that to be mean, go out there with a wire brush and start scratching on that, because they can do more damage than. So part of this is, if we're not going to be able to do a repair on it, then at what point do we need to look at it and say, okay, what can we do to mitigate it and carry us over until either we can address it correctly, or it's addressed in the next bond, or we get funding from the state.
So in a classic example would be in San Cayetano, the bricks are falling off. They shouldn't have put those up. I can't find them. So we talked about figuring out something just to put on there to make it look nice, or take some off the back and move them up front. Just to make it where you walk up, you don't have that problem, but all of them need to be replaced.
So this, what Mr. Beach brought forward to you, was not a surprise? This was nothing new? You already knew about it?
A lot of the stuff we do, like the Calabasas we knew about.
And all his pictures, you guys already knew.
Well, some of the painting, yeah, we've talked about painting a lot of this.
I know, but I just particular, what he brought forward, you guys already knew about.
The sink I knew about, I'll give you that one, because they broke one. And then we actually ordered another one and put another one on there, so that was the second one. Kids love to sit on those things for some reason. And the leak, that was, like I said, I missed it.
Right. Okay, no, that's.
I mean, I'm just being honest with you.
Well, no, yeah, and then, because it is about communication too, and work, and when you do your walkarounds you make sure you get with one of the school administrators. You do
That's
that?
what's happened. I'm walking with principals now. We don't, get together and they'll.
You say now, starting as of this year?
Yeah, starting as of this year.
No,
We have done.
yeah.
Well, you're not on a consistent basis.
Well, what
Now
now
you say you're doing it on a consistent
we've
basis.
had meetings with principals. And either principals cancel meetings and you know what? We understand they have a lot bigger job to do sometimes than we do. So if they call us and say, hey, we can't make it because something happened today in school, we reschedule it. I think the problem that I see from my perspective, from an outsider looking in, is look, if they cancel it, you need to reschedule it. So part of what Melissa and I are talking about, and this is where we have kind of talked about us getting together with Mr. Verdugo, her, myself, Scott, and looking at this systematically saying, okay, if we're not having principal meetings, my thing is, you guys should be copied on every principal meeting we sit down with and say, here's what we discussed, here's what we're doing, so that you know that those meetings are happening. And I don't think we're doing that. We send a lot of that stuff to Melissa. We send a lot of that stuff. But I think to be fair to the district, we need to make sure that we're sending that to everybody as part of, and we talked about it today, is making that part of a board report, an informational item. These are the principal meetings that were had in the last month, and here's what was talked about. So that everybody's on the same page, because.
Well, that's good. That's, again, you're keeping a communication open. I would say go back to the principals though, because it's their schools. It's their schools. Dr. Lunderville and Mr. David Verdugo, they're just overseeing it along with us, but it is their schools. They're the helm of that ship, as we used to say. The captain of the ship, whatever we want to say in that title, principal, you should be working directly with them. Now, if it's not working with them, then it comes back to Dr. Lunderville. I'm just suggesting because I think they need to be more involved, and it appears that it's not that way. I don't know what happened then, but I think you guys need to go back with the principals and get them involved. And they hold you guys accountable. Hey, you're not doing this for my school. Not Dr. Lunderville, because she's got enough on her plate.
Well,
And I'm just saying this as a former principal that would want to say, hey, let's do the walk around of my school. And I would be very unhappy in the beginning of the year. I'm gonna keep going. And I've been very unhappy because we've said this for 5 years now. Every time we start school, it's pre-emergent, the guy, it's been that way for a long time. And then whenever you guys have been here since then, I go into schools there and say, and she knows that because I've called her. Why do we have weeds? It's not something new to us. We all live down here. We know we get monsoons. We need to get weeds. Some of us have to spray twice because we get a lot of rain and then there's more weeds. But again, that shouldn't be when the parents drive up the first day and they see, wow, look at this, welcome to the jungle. I mean, really, truly. And we have weeds just around the district administrator office. And when we were going for like the first month, I'm going, well, that's good. District office even has it too. So I guess we're part of the whole realm of it.
Yeah, and all the frontage road has it too. That's when we go out and try to get the.
Again,
Just the overgrowth is so hard with these weeds sometimes. It is a tough world. I mean, my guys are out every day hitting weeds, everything.
So with that said, that's my statement on that. And the last thing is, well, I'm glad you guys did the rocks and sidewalk because that was mentioned. And we were told by our architectural group that wasn't necessary. So I'm glad you did that. See, that's a positive. You did that. Where we said, why you couldn't just have them run up the hill? Remember that when I brought that up? I'm glad you did that. And the last thing is, when you do security lighting, are you meeting with Robert as far as the security lighting and how you're setting that up? He's our head of our security for the district.
I have not met with Robert about security lighting.
Yeah.
We replace what's there. So what's happening is if the LED goes out, we replace what's there. So I think I bought like 30 or 40 this year and we went around and priced whatever was out. So we don't add, we just replace what's there. So we do that, I do that walk around and make sure all the lights are up. I've got Mountain View right now. I've got to
I would just leave that as a suggestion, Dr. Lennon, that we get Robert involved with our security that's going on with the principals as well. Because he is our head of our district security. When you said security lighting. So. Anyway, well, I guess I got my title back. All right. Thank you, Mr. Beach.
Mr. Ramirez?
Yeah, well, Mr. Kramer really hit on a lot of the things that I wrote notes on right here. Good job. But one word that really sticks in my mind after I saw those pictures was I'm shell shocked. And I'm just completely shell shocked, especially after seeing that water running with the algae for that long after Mr. Beach had told me. I mean, it's one thing you say, well, I'm down at the pool, you know, taking care of the chemicals and all, and I missed that one. Yeah, but you know, that's been going on since August. So who's walking around to see stuff like Mr. Kramer said, and who knew already, like, why isn't somebody walking around to check all of this stuff out? And I agree wholeheartedly. This is not Dr. Lunderville's thing. She's got bigger fish to fry than to be walking around looking to see whether stucco is falling off a building or water's dripping off of a water fountain. And by the way, I worked at Calabasas, and since then they had the problem. And those things also, Mr. Beach, they would freeze too in the winter when the leaks were going on. If those things freeze, remember that? Because she worked with me too there. We worked together and we saw it. And once they freeze, then things start breaking. And then that costs the district even more money. So I don't know. I'm just gonna leave with the fact that I don't think, why should it be the president of the governing board having to walk around to check out everything? Really, that's an absurdity. And like Mr. Kramer said it well. You know, you guys are in the business of maintaining stuff, and we're in the business here of making sure that we find people who are going to maintain our facilities correctly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Yeah, just to end with, I think, you know, looking at those water fountains, I mean, we're in summer going into fall, but they haven't had water since the beginning of school, those kids. You know, and that's just not having a contingency plan. You know, if we knew those water fountains were leaking a year ago, it's totally rusting them out. We should have ordered those water fountains a year ago. Because we knew we had to replace them. So I think that was an oversight on an individual. I don't want to blame anybody. That's just an oversight on that. With custodians, you know, 8 AM, they pick up trash. You know, take the initiative at 1 PM before they leave. If the trash can's filled, you know, go take it out. It doesn't take that long. So the trash issue shouldn't be an issue. And that's just goes back to, I always dealt with custodians, 30 years in teaching, that school was a reflection of those custodians. So I'm not sure, do the custodians have the autonomy to take tasks upon themselves and put in a work order, or does it have to come through principals?
No, they can make a work order. All the problems happened is what we were talking about this morning was they don't come in till the next morning or next afternoon. So there's a miss, because my guy leaves at 2:30. We talked to them for a half hour and they see it that day. It's all the way over. They probably forgot. So I'm like, well, we got to figure something out, how they get something in to where they can either put it on a board or say, hey, this was broken or whatever. So there is a communication there, because I'm pretty sure that's what's happening. They go out, they do something, they go clean the rest of their place and they forgot about said toilet that was messed up. And they go home, come back in the next day and it's totally gone. So we're talking about that now. Some of the stuff that happens is, I mean, my guy does come to me. I mean, they're they have vapes in them toilets sometimes. So we're out pulling them stupid things out. It's just things that we fight every day. We fixed 700, let's see, Friday, today they were plugged again. I mean, kids do things. That's a tough part.
I'm always looking for improvements in, you know, one thing I talk to our custodians and say, hey, these schools, they're a reflection of you. You know, I walked down Mountain View's campus, that school was immaculate. Everything was painted, all the trim, all the posts. That custodian was going above and beyond what he should be doing. Other schools, I'm not seeing it. And this is just general upkeep. You know, we're not talking about these big issues with toilets and plumbing. And I think if you just sit down with your custodians and say, hey, appreciate your hard work, but as you do your job and you see paint and you see a little piece rusting out that you can touch up with paint, go ahead and put in that work order, because this school, when the public walks in, is a reflection of you guys. You know, we live by student first. Our admin, our teachers live student first. Let them know that, you know, your students walk on this campus, everything should be painted, everything should be looking good. You know, you shouldn't have walk in a classroom and ceiling tiles missing for a week. those are easy fixes that a custodian could do within 10 minutes. So I think we just need to go back, talk to your custodians and let them know they are appreciated. And, you know, let them know that this school, when the public walks in and the students walk in, it's a reflection of them. And so if they could be a little bit more proactive, get those simple work orders, trash cans, a little bit of touch-up paint, it'll do wonders and it'll save the district money. So as you leave, Mr. Goldsmith and Mr. Peters, I'd like you guys to brainstorm a little bit and maybe come back to Superintendent Verdugo. And maybe how can we improve some of these tasks that should be getting done but are not getting done? Okay.
So one thing I might suggest, I'm coming back here next week to do some training with our lead custodians. And if it's possible, it would be nice to have a board member come out and talk to our staff, because again, they get tired of listening to us talk. I mean, they hear us, we do the training, we do this. So, you know, it gives them a perspective that's outside of us. So if that's possible, I will be happy to send you kind of a time and place. We're gonna do it over at, I think it's at the maintenance office where we're gonna do it. And I would be happy to have somebody come by and give them a different perspective, because again, sometimes an expert is somebody that comes in out of town with a suitcase and says, hey, this is my viewpoint, and they understand it better. So I would welcome that, because I think it does. I mean, that's one of our struggles, is to get people to realize the fact is, hey, that custodian has got just as much authority to call the work order in, or to say, hey, we got a hazard over here, stop what you're doing and come over. So we want to empower them to be able to call Scott, call me and whatever, and say, hey, I got a problem. I don't seem to be getting it fixed. Get over here and help. That's what we're asking for. So if that's possible, I'd like to see somebody come out next week. I think it's Thursday that we're doing that training. So if that's possible, I mean, check with, so is it Thursday?
Now, what time?
2 o'clock. Well, excuse me, we'll do it 12 o'clock. Noon.
If I can make it, I'll go on down and speak to them.
I would, because I mean, I think my staff could show you, I mean, because they're gonna want to ask you questions, because a lot of stuff there, and they get pictures from them and they're like, I just want you to know that this is clean before I leave, so I don't want to get in trouble. So I feel bad for them, because they're scared. So I'm like, well, you know, I know it's clean, you know, we got the pictures, we can move on, move forward. And I think they'll probably explain to you what's going on, so they can say, you know, we clean our area, and then if it gets destroyed, and then someone's coming in saying it's not clean, and we're like, wait a minute. And they've got pictures. So, and it will, I think it'll open your eyes a little bit to let them, I got some scared ones. I mean,
I don't think it's a matter of them not doing their job. I think we just need a little bit more proactive as far as general upkeep. You know, a little bit of improvement there. It's not like Mr. Beach, we're doing it, here are pictures to prove it. Then we have Superintendent Verdugo says that gum that I forwarded the picture to you is still there. So it's just attention to detail. And I think they're doing an outstanding job, but I think we could do have some improvements. Okay, but I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Peters, Mr. Goldsmith. Okay, moving along, subject D, Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District Policy. Here's the presentation, Alma.
There's no action.
Oh, we got C. Item C, Rio Rico High School Athletic Director, Mr. Christopher Laughlin. And this is Mr. David Verdugo, Dr. Lunderville.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and turn over to Dr. Lunderville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe Mr. Laughlin is a panelist. He had to cover badminton tonight. If I'm on, we can pull that up. I don't know if the board has any questions. The memo is also included, that was written. We did only have one applicant, for the position. Chris, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. President, I don't know if the board has any specific questions.
I'll go ahead and open it up, Ms. Foley.
I was sorry to see him leave. I'm happy to see him return.
Ms. Vasquez? Oh, yeah. Mr. Kramer, Mr. Ramirez.
Go ahead.
Mo, you go first before me.
I'll wait to hear what they have to say.
All right, congratulations for getting out of your contract, I guess. That's good. That's surprising, but that's good. So with that said, are you planning to be athletic director and coaching again?
I do not plan on coaching again. I think the needs of the high.
Strictly
Sorry.
administrative then, right, Mr. Laughlin?
Yes, sir.
All right, if we get you voted in, welcome aboard. Thank you.
You bet.
Ramirez?
Yeah, I just want to say, you know how I felt about things in the past, and I want to tell you that I never questioned whether you were a good baseball coach. I think you're a very good baseball coach, but as you well know, I wasn't too thrilled about you being a AD and also a coach. And I'm the only one, I want to say this too, and I'm proud of it, even though it wasn't a popular thing to do. I was the only one that voted against you being an AD and a baseball coach at the same time. You know why? I said it, and I'll say it again. I just don't think it's a good idea to be your own boss. And also that AD position requires a lot of time after school. And Mr. Verdugo, I know you're listening, but you said that it was kind of like teachers taking time off, but it's not quite the same because there's a difference in when our AD is really needed, and it's mainly after school hours, I believe, not so much during the school day. But I want to also give the superintendent credit because we had conversations about it. And he listened, and he never got all excited or angry about it, nor did the other governing board members here. I know for a fact, I can't drop names, but I know after they talked to me about it, some of them changed their minds about it. So, Mr. Verdugo and Mr. Laughlin, I'm very happy that you decided to just be the AD. And I'm good with that, very good with that. I thought you did a good job before. And I was very happy that you didn't leave when there was all that controversy. Kudos to you for not doing that. And I too am happy that you're coming back. And good luck to you in that position. That is, if we all vote for it today.
Ms. Vasquez?
Yeah, same thing, just, I'm also happy that he's not gonna be coaching. Not because he wasn't a good coach. I thought he was a very, very, very good coach. But again, like Mr. Ramirez says, okay, the athletic director is mostly after school. And if, thank God nothing ever happened, when you were out coaching or, on the away games and whatever. Thank God nothing happened, but what if something would have happened? Who was gonna be in charge in order to take care of the situation that was, that was happening? I think that, we are in a district where our students are first and the safety of them is first. And I think that that has a lot to do with, after school hours, and that I think is with the athletic director. But I was also sorry to see you go because you are a very good, individual. You know what you're doing, your stuff, and I'm happy that you're coming back. And hopefully you won't be MIA during the day because and not antisocial anymore. Anyway, so welcome back.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, Chris, I thought it worked out the way it should have worked out. You took over the program, that program took off as far as you went year round, you're doing the camps, you're taking them to camps, etc. I think you're an excellent mentor for the coaches that took over. So that is a positive, but I understand where Mr. Ramirez is coming from. AD is a full-time job. It's mostly after school, late hours. I know other staff members picked up the slack for you, which is a team effort that team effort we promote down here. But yeah, you're definitely a positive asset to this district and Rio Rico High School and the athletics. And I hope you continue mentoring the coaches over there and bringing that young, youthful vibe back to the school. Okay?
Can I say
So,
something?
yes, you may.
Okay, Mr. Laughlin?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna be watching you like a hawk. All right.
All right.
You can come and see me anytime you'd like.
Okay,
Okay.
let's go ahead and vote. Motion to approve the hiring of Mr. Christopher Laughlin as the athletic director at Rio Rico High School.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Moving on to welcome aboard, Chris.
Welcome aboard, Chris.
Congrats.
Thank you, guys.
All right, subject D, Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District policies. We do have, Mr. Verdugo, Mr. Dr. Lundergill, boardroom naming policy and inter-based, bargaining.
Yeah, Mr. Beach, just for the sake of time, if we, I wouldn't mind tabling these until the 22nd. There is no urgency for either one. I just, for the sake of time and respect of the board's time, it's been a long meeting already, that we can just, you can see those, and then if you have any questions, we can come back, but I would just recommend that we bring them back on the 22nd.
That fine idea.
Motion to table the Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District policies.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right.
All opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Subject E, propose and prioritize topics and possible dates and times for future board meetings. Mr. Verdugo, Dr. Lunderville.
Yes, Mr. President, just a reminder, we have the ASBA company meeting on October 17th. Our next board meeting, of course, is October 22nd. All of you have received, if you can, RSVP for the Rio Rico High School Ag Farm Ribbon Cutting Ceremony. That's October 28th. And then we have ASBA coming mid-December. Were there any requests to add to the future stuff?
Ms. Bobby?
No requests.
No requests?
Okay, Mr. Kramer?
No. I do not have any requests, sir.
Mr. Ramirez?
Yeah, based upon those awful ugly pictures that you put on that presentation. I like an update on Sodexo and what they've done to take care of all these problems in the future.
Okay. Let's put that down. I have nothing. Moving on, 6 consent agenda, subject A. Approval of consent agenda. Any matter on the consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed as a regular agenda item on the request of any board member. Any board member wanna say anything about the consent agenda? Ms. Hogan?
No requests.
Ms. Vasquez?
None?
Mr. Kramer?
Maybe not, sir.
Mr. Ramirez?
For the sake of time, no.
And same here. Okay, motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nays. Ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned at
7:22.
7:22.